As you develop your model, remember to identify its bounded context. That is, where is this model valid? If you don't put boundaries around your model, eventually pieces of it will be used where they don't fit. Concepts that make sense in one part of the application may not make sense in another, even if they have the same name, and sometimes even if they literally refer to the same thing.
For example, as we built out the appointment scheduling portion of this system, we needed to know some very basic information about clients. But in the context of appointment scheduling, these are very simple concepts with little behavior beyond their names. However, in the billing context, we'll want to include contact and payment information for clients. But that's information we don't care about back in the appointment scheduling context. If we try to reuse the same exact client model in multiple places, it's likely to cause inconsistent behavior in our system.
That's right. For instance, we might decide to include some form of validation on clients to ensure we have enough information to bill them. If we're not careful, that validation might inadvertently prevent us from being able to use clients to schedule appointments, which certainly isn't the desired behavior. Maybe the billing system requires that clients have a valid credit card in order to save changes for them. But it wouldn't make sense for a lack of a credit card to prevent us from saving an appointment for a client in the appointment scheduling system. In this example, we have two contexts, but the boundaries between them are blurred and overlapping. Eric Evans notes that models are only valid within specific contexts. Therefore, it's best to explicitly define the context within which a model applies. We should be able to avoid compromising the model within this context, keeping it strictly consistent within these bounds, and avoiding distractions or confusion from outside issues.
Once we explicitly define our bounded contexts, we can easily see whether or not we have elements of our model that are trying to span multiple contexts. In this example, we'd want to keep a simple view of a client in the appointment scheduling app and a richer version of the client with contact and billing information in the billing context. We would define these two views of a client in two separate classes, and they will most likely live in separate applications. In fact, Evans recommends that bounded contexts maintain their separation by giving each context its own team, codebase, and database schema.
While this is ideal, in many real-world apps, we need to work on systems where this level of separation is not present, usually due to resource constraints or for political reasons within the organization. Remember, though, if you have multiple contexts, you'll want to keep them bounded, and one way to maintain this separation is to keep their data, code, and team members distinct from one another. Although, in real world, I've never seen something with that level of separation.
Yeah, but I think even if it's not possible to literally do that with your company and your team, just having that concept in mind really helps in your brain have that idea of separation.
I agree. I know that just thinking about the fact that these things ought to be separated and trying to figure out a way to do it means that even if you can't get to the ultimate level where everything is completely separate, you can still introduce separations through things like namespaces, separate folders, separate projects, anything you can do to make it clear that these are different contexts that shouldn't be sharing too much information.
I think that's also a really important point about this course in general and DDD in general. For me, it's really hard to think of all of these things we're learning as hard and fast rules, like you have to do it this way or you're not doing it right. I like to see all of this as really good guidance. So, it helps me keep my eye on the prize. And when there's places where I can't truly achieve exactly what DDD kind of directs me to do, I'm using my own experience, my own intelligence to make decisions about how to do things. And I'm letting DDD guide me in a lot of scenarios.
Sure. And some of these ideals, I think of like 100% test coverage. It's almost impossible in most real-world applications to achieve 100% test coverage. But just because that ideal is not something you can ever achieve doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive for more test coverage.
Yeah, totally agree with that.